Hey there everyone, today I'm looking at TF2, and since I don't have any other footage to record from, I thought I'd record my own here. But yeah, what can be said about TF2? It feels kind of weird to be reviewing a multiplayer game, especially one that's been out for literally years. Yeah, I think, TF2 as a whole community and the whole kind of vibe of the game is very much in line with. So playing a game and reviewing at the same time is actually pretty difficult, it seems, but I'm gonna try to stick with it. But yeah, no, TF2, I mean, I think the whole kind of atmosphere around the game itself, in terms of the community and the Gmod videos, are almost have outlived the game more than the rest of it, so to speak. And I think, growing up on all those crazy Gmod videos like Heavy's Bad Day or whatever, were really, really interesting and cool. It was interesting because TF2, its origins are in Team Fortress, which originally was a Valve game and was more similar to Counter-Strike in a way than anything else. There was a mod for Counter-Strike, really. Or was a mod for Quake or something? I forgot. I just realized there's, I guess, hackers in this match, and the snipers that just aim up at the sky just instantly headshot you, and they're also the users that are blasting the Skibidi toilet. So, even the hackers in this game at least have a sense of humor, I suppose. I guess I'll just run into fire until I die and just kind of focus on the review. In any case, but yeah, no, the whole community around TF2 and Valve in general is really, really interesting. But yeah, no, originally this game, it looked more similar to something out of like Half-Life. And if you look at Team Fortress Classic, it looks very different to this game. And they had a whole kind of cartoon, revamp, a whole kind of creation of a different art style, the silhouettes, the character intros, what was really, really interesting. And so the whole design philosophy was to make them like iconic and make them certain characters, and so they each one would have a different accent, a different area of the world they were from, and so they'd all be part of this kind of 60s fighting force kind of thing. And so the basic objective of TF2 is you get a bunch of kills with points, or you escort the bomb to the payload area, very similar to like something like Overwatch. So what's also cool is that along with different accents, you have different classes, and so you have basically your scout, which is fast and agile, has low health. You have your soldier, which is basically best for offensive because it'll take out the most amount of kills and has area of effect blast. You have your pyro, which is great for sneaking up on people and taking them out on that. I think it's funny that they didn't do the pyro video for like a really long time until they eventually did it just for the hell of it, like 5 years after the game was out by that point, probably more than that. These are really great these are one of my favorite classes, the defense classes. So you have Heavy Demo Man, who specializes in lobbing grenades, setting up traps. The Heavy, who is honestly more so of an offensive class because he pushes, has huge amount of health, and he has this huge gun, and the doctor tends to boost him. And you have your engineer, who's able to basically set up turrets and stuff, and so he's actually the most useful for like defensive strategies because he'll just set everything up and make it work. Then you have your support. So the meta class, obviously he does have a gun, but it's mostly about healing your teammates. The sniper, again, kind of defensive, I guess, but more like offensive class. Like this is all about getting headshots and everything. And the spy is probably the most complicated class that you don't usually see in games like this, where basically he can disguise himself as another character and do a one-hit kill from behind them. And that honestly, to me, kind of ruined the game just a little bit, because now you always have to pyro. You have to like blast everyone you see just to make sure they're not a spy. So it does change that dynamics quite a bit. But since I'm playing against bots, I guess maybe I have a chance of getting a kill if I use the engineer at least or something. But yeah, Team Fortress 2, it's a very simple, basic game. You have two teams of cartoon characters that fight each other, and you basically unlock different kinds of items as you play the game. So I remember the first thing that I realized, because I started TF2 a few years after it came out, and so what I noticed is that a lot of the people already had different kinds of gear and equipment, and so when you started, you basically have nothing, and so that can be very disheartening and frustrating, because when you do have start off with nothing and everyone seems to have all of this other stuff, you feel kind of jealous, and you basically want to get that stuff. And the way you get that stuff is by, you could buy it obviously off the market in the store, and Steam also was an innovator in the early kind of marketplace of video games and of course all that other stuff, and of course Steam obviously and all of that. So on top of that, the monetization of things like that, and hats, and the fact that hats became these just weird cosmetic things you can put on the character, and it'll give you a bit of personality, and that kind of went a lot into how they viewed their business model and stuff like that. And so it's funny that even though this is probably almost more than a decade old, maybe approaching like 2 decades now, I think, it's just amazing how well this game is made, and how the fact that people still play it, even though as you can see there are bots. I think this started a couple of years ago, where they were talking about trying to do something about this, because the bots would come in and they would basically mess up the whole kind of operation of the game, because essentially they would just be getting one shots. The game basically became unplayable, even though it's something about the servers and how everything is secured. I'm not really sure, but it's just interesting to me that despite all that, people are still trying to play this game. It's almost like they have some kind of Stockholm syndrome from it or something. Yeah, this game was very much immersed in internet culture. There's a lot of things in it that are very, very interesting and dynamic. The whole class system and how everything works in the game is really kind of nifty. But yeah, I think the overarching problem that we encounter a lot with multiplayer games is essentially that there's just a skill curve, essentially, that once enough people have essentially played it, that at a certain point, what occurs is that the skill gap between new players and experienced players and people who basically just want to dominate the field just becomes very, very stark and vivid. And so you have this situation, essentially, new players can't really get into the match itself because, again, of the skill gap. And so, when you start some of these multiplayer games that have been out for a few years, the big problem is that a lot of people will have already maxed out their skill gap or figured out the one weird exploit, and now they're all kind of just abusing that one exploit and making the game kind of unfun for everyone, rather than everyone starting at the same skill level, figuring out the game together, and coming to their own conclusions. And TF2, I guess at this point, it's mostly still playable, but this match that I'm in right now is definitely not playable at all. And so I hope, I hope they fix this. But again, it's still amazing that this game still is active after all this time. I remember there was one point I really wanted to get good with the Scout, and I just never could do it. It was just really difficult. But yeah, TF2, I know, with multiplayer games in general, I tend to play them for maybe a month at most, or maybe 2 or 3 months, and then I just won't touch them again. It's I'll max out, I'll get the cosmetics for the character I want, or I'll, get the thing that I want, or get a certain skill level for a character that I really wanted to get with, and I was just happy with it. But yeah, this is one of the first games that really introduced kind of classes in a multiplayer setting, and kind of balanced everything, or at least tried to balance somewhat, so it would kind of be consistent with the rest of it. But yeah, it's a bit disappointing how things have changed, in the sense that it's not only that TF2 is no longer good, but it's no longer bad either. Is this kind of in this weird middle ground where the game's not necessarily good, it's not necessarily bad, it's just kind of okay, whatever. But yeah, I don't know what to say about it. I guess it was a fun game at some point, but now if you try to play it today, I don't know how much what kind of experience you're going to get, because it changes with the years, obviously, right? I hope Valve still keeps it up. I like these online only games that are kind of shut down after a while, but again, so even though we have bots on this map, it seems like the heavy and the medic are working together to take out the sniper bots, which honestly I respect. But yeah, I don't know. There's not much else to say about this game, except that the cultural impact this game has left is probably greater than or more powerful than the actual game itself. The other problem too that I have with multiplayer games is that also they just take a long time, like 30 minutes or 20 minutes per match. And I mean, that's kind of like whatever. But I don't know, my main issue, I think, really, if I get down to it, is that once you play a multiplayer game long enough, it becomes very predictable what the game is going to be like. You know, how many kills you're going to get, how many kills they're going to get, you know, what's going to kill you. And, you know, once you've seen all the game has to offer, you just kind of naturally move on. I feel that's with me with definitely like Overwatch and other games where you just kind of, even though they're games designed to never end, you just kind of decide when to put them down and when to end them. They just kind of like, well, that was fun, I guess. And then it's kind of over and you move on to the next thing. And it's funny that a game like TF2 hasn't come along yet that's really swept everyone up in like one huge sweep where everyone just had to try it at least. And now you have these small indie games which are like kind of one-offs where like, you know, get weird, like something like Lethal Company. But yeah, no, this was the heyday. This was like the big first wacky, silly, interesting multiplayer shooter game, essentially, where everything kind of just came together really well. And it's super easy to install. It's super lightweight, super, you know, flexible or whatever. Overall, just a really good game. But again, it's just, it feels a little bit dated for sure. It's still built on like the Team Fortress engine, or the Half-Life engine. But yeah, there's not much else to say. I love the character designs. I love the character intros. I love all the Gmod videos and all the things that have sprung up because of this game. The game itself, though, isn't really that great. It's fun. It's okay. But now it's filled with extremely, I don't know how to say, extremely difficult tryhards and, you know, people who basically want to max out their skills, and, you know, people who are just looking to break the game at this point. And I think some people just, you know, don't move on to other games. Like, I've moved on to other games, but some people just, I guess, just don't move on in general. And yeah, I don't know. It's a weird experience, I guess, from that perspective. But yeah, even if you're a bad player, you can just always play the engineer, just kind of chill and lay back and let the other players, you know, do the match for you. Anyway, I'm not sure what else to say about this game, except that it exists. It had a huge cultural impact. I think it's free if you have Steam. This was the beginning of a lot of great things, and yeah, I'm interested to see how TF2 will evolve, or if it will eventually be axed, and when or if it is ever, you know, axed, it'll be a dark day in gamer history at that point. Anyway, guys, not sure much else to say about this game, except, you know, it gets kind of predictable after a while. You know, you kind of get a hold for all the classes and how they work, which there are 12. So, yeah, something to like sink your time into. But yeah, nothing super amazing or anything. Yeah, that's pretty much the game, guys. See you later. Bye.